Aside from the lies the milk industry has been telling us about vitamin D, most of us know that vitamin D is pretty darn important. But what I want to address in this video is how critical vitamin D might actually be to our mood. You see, most of us know that vitamin D is very important when it comes down to bone health or when it comes down to our immune system. But what I want to do is start making the correlation to brain health. And there's been a lot of research lately that's showing that this is the case. And according to the National Library of Medicine, we found that about 40 to 50% of Americans are already deficient in vitamin D. So when you start thinking that vitamin D might be linked with mood disorders, well, then it's pretty evident that we need to be paying attention to it. Now, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics found that the link between vitamin D and our mood lies within the neurotransmitter serotonin. Now, that serotonin neurotransmitter is what's responsible for us having a sense of well-being, for us feeling calm, cool, and collected. Quite the opposite of feeling anxious or potentially depressed. Well, I'm going to get into the intricate details of it in just a minute so you understand how serotonin works and so that you can make the connection. But what we have to remember first and foremost is that a lot of these ties are still widely unknown. This is a pretty new topic, pretty new investigations when it comes down to vitamin D in the brain. So let's take a look at serotonin really quick. Okay? It's the job of serotonin, again, to help us feel good. Now, the process of actually creating serotonin in the body is pretty interesting. You see, it comes down to something called tryptophan. And what tryptophan is an amino acid. And those amino acids are usually derived from proteins that we consume. And when we consume those proteins, we generally require carbohydrates to allow the tryptophan to enter into the brain. Well, what researchers are now finding is that vitamin D could be a very critical component in that conversion process. So essentially, eat protein, get the tryptophan, have it go into the brain with the help of carbohydrates, and then vitamin D comes in and assists in the metabolism and the creation of serotonin. So right at the very root of creating this neurotransmitter that helps us feel good. Now, researchers are continuing to back up the fact that everything seems to be lying in what are called monoamines. Monoamines are a group of neurotransmitters, including serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. All three neurotransmitters that truly regulate how the brain operates when it comes to feeling good. And again, if we see that link between vitamin D and the creation of these monoamines, you can get the hint that, well, it might be pretty critical to overall feeling well. There's one study in particular that I really want to reference because it backs a lot of this up, and it was done by Oregon State University. And what it looked at was 185 female participants that were all college students, okay, between the ages of 18 and 25. And what they did is they initially measured their vitamin D levels, and they found naturally that a lot of them were already deficient in vitamin D. But what they did is they monitored these women for an extended period of time. They monitored them over the wintertime, over the spring, over the summer, and they watched their vitamin D levels fluctuate. And of course, naturally, in the wintertime, vitamin D levels were significantly lower, especially up in Oregon where there's not a lot of sunlight, especially in the winter. So yeah, we had that natural fluctuation. But what they measured were symptoms of depression and symptoms of mood disorders as correlated with the vitamin D. Well, there was a direct relationship with when vitamin D levels were low and mood was low. And this was substantiated throughout the course of the year and through multiple different angles of study. And that's just one study that backs it up. There are multiple studies that also look at that. So again, although the direct ties are unknown, it's seeming to have to do with our neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. So when it comes down to using something that's safe and effective to start feeling better and also help you get a little bit more calcium into your bones and also help your immune system, there's no denying that vitamin D is one of the front runners there. And if you can, take a look at PuraTHRIVE's vitamin D, since it's one of the only vitamin Ds that's truly absorbable in a liposomal form. Because a vitamin D is only as good a vitamin D that you're going to actually absorb. So if you click on the link, you can check out PuraTHRIVE's vitamin D and get a little bit more information as to how this might start making you the best possible version of yourself from the brain on down. I'll see you in the next page.